Hello the internet! It is Saturday the 5th of August 2023 and welcome back to the channel. I want to put forward a little idea that I have concerning this sewage, the SEC suing Richard Hart, therefore it's sewage. I came up with this idea yesterday. I was trying to think of the correct word. Suing sewage. The sewage, the garbage, it shouldn't bother us, right? Why does it bother people? I mean, first of all, as we were told from the beginning of Hex, it's immutable code. It can function on its own. You interact with the code. You don't need a third party to help you along the way. The code exists and you interact with that code. The fact that there's someone who created it originally is insignificant because the thing that he created is meant to stand on its own. Immutable, can't be changed, can't be stopped, can't be tweaked. That's what immutable means. It's there, it's working. It has been working, as they say, flawlessly for 3.5 years. So the fact that the SEC is coming after Richard Hart almost makes no change to, well, it literally makes no change to Hex. Whether they find him guilty of fraud or not, it doesn't change the code. And they can't tear the code down. It exists. It's already out there. So, unless I've got it wrong, and I'm hoping some Hexicans can come in and tell me, this is a YouTube stream, by the way, not on Kick, but I am on DLive and all the other Facebooks and all that other garbage. But this is definitely a YouTube stream. I want this to exist after the fact, so I've done this on YouTube. And yeah, that's my take on it. I feel like, I mean, I want to go deeper into it, of course, and we can take a look at the charts and see what happened. You know, after the announcement, Hex plummeted. Also, PulseX and Pulse, they've both plummeted, and then they've risen back up again. If I check my portfolio, which I did yesterday, everything looks good. In fact, I bought the dip. I got very lucky to buy in on a real big dip. I mean, the dip was massive. And so, yeah, I mean, if the news sent the thing plummeting downward because Yahoos were like, well, I'm selling, I'm out. And they sold and the price dropped. That's the chance to sort of snake yourself in as a bit of a whale, if you like. Not that I'm a whale, but I mean, I got a substantial bag now because I bought in right at the dip, both Pulse and PulseX. And I gotta be, so I'm not touching Hex. I mean, I'm touching it, but I'm not interested. Okay, this is a hot take, right? I'll look at that in a second, but I just want to clear this up. I'm not interested in eHex, Ethereum Hex. Aside from the stakes that I've already got made, which we implemented when eHex was the only hex. Now there's pHex, and I know they're not called that. pHex is called Hex and eHex is eHex. But I'm just going to make it simple by always saying which one I'm referring to. E equals Ethereum, P equals Pulse. eHex, PulseHex, or ETHEX, PulseHex. So once this idea 2 years ago was put forward and pitched that Richard Hart's going to fork Ethereum into his own chain, and we're going to have Hex on both chains. It's pretty clear to me that that's an indicator that something's wrong with the eHex. Why fork off if everything's hunky-dory? So the fact that he forked it and went off his own way, to me said, you should also go that way. Forget this way, we're going that way. Now, the fact that we get the duplicate with the chain creation and whatnot, that's rad, and like I'm stoked for that. And that's all cool. And this eHex will always exist and always do its thing. But for me, buying Hex, I'm not touching Ethereum. I mean, I am because I've got Hex staked there, but nothing new. I'm not going to go down that road anymore because we've got a new road to go down. And this new road is way better. So fuck. How long are we into this stream? 9 minutes, including the intro. I can swear. So forget Ethereum Hex, me only. You might choose differently. So I haven't bought any of that dip. But I did buy a little Ethereum Hex about, I guess it was about 4 months ago. There was another dip. There was another, something happened. I couldn't remember yesterday on the kick stream, and I can't remember right now what it was, but there was some indicator or something happened that sent EHEX plummeting. Oh, was it the SEC coming after all the creators? All the Hexican streamers? I think it might have been. That might have been it. But either way, EHEX plummeted. And for the first time in my history, I bought some Hex, a little bag worth, and I did not stake it. I did not stake that shizzle. I've kept that liquid in my wallet simply because I'm pissed off at seeing wealthy Hexicans. Is that a hot take? I'm pissed off at seeing wealthy Hexicans flexing their Lambos and all that shit. Because when this thing was pitched to me, thank you Hexo, and thank you RG3, and thank you Balliot Bran, and thank you Matty Allen, when they pitched this to me on the DLive, the golden era of DLive, they very carefully and very clearly said, this is a long-term play. In fact, the catchphrase was longer pays better. So you stake longer and you get a bigger return. So who are the yahoos that went in? Hex is only 3.5 years old and there's people already made millions. They did not 5555. They're not part of the club. So I got a little pissed at that because I am in that club. And I thought that's what we were being told is the way to do it. So this time when Hex dropped, I went, you know what? I'm gonna be one of those traders, traitor traders, and I'm gonna buy some Hex. I'm just gonna hold it liquid. And the moment that shit goes up, I'm gonna sell for a profit. I'm gonna sell my bags. And I'm doing it because other people have done it and cashed it in and made a bunch. And we're all sitting here on our bags, on our staked bags, watching the price drop. So my point is, EHEX is all but dead in the sense of new EHEX. I'll exist with what I've got, but I'm not building anything more. I'm using Pulse, PulseX, and Pulse Hex, which is what I feel Richard Hart intended. Because if he didn't intend that, why would he make Pulse, right? If he didn't want you to buy Hex on Pulse, why make the Pulse chain? So that's a little sidestep, but it does play into the scenario we have now where he's being sued allegedly for fraud. And what does that do to the Pulse and the Pulse X tokens? And what does it do to the existing Hex on Ethereum? Now, if it's not ridiculous enough as it is, the conversation about which Hex is the better Hex, Pulse Hex or EHEX, get this. Have you seen on Twitter, there's been some Hexicans saying they should bring Pulse X over to Ethereum, which is mind-boggling to me. It's like, okay, so we were playing on Ethereum for a while, we launched it on Ethereum, played on Ethereum, got jack of all the exorbitant gas fees. Thank you very much. I've paid a whole bunch of crap on there for their gas fees. So then all of a sudden it's like, well, we're going to make our own chain. So we go off and fork it, we make it. 2 years later, it's existing. And now you're talking about putting that shit back on Ethereum just because Richard Hart's being sued? That seems like a bad take. That's like going back. It's not like that. I was going to say it's like going back to an X. It's not quite like that, but this thing was created to move away from Ethereum, and now you're talking about possibly putting it onto the Ethereum chain. It doesn't make any sense to me. Either I'm missing something, and I've been known to miss things before. I'll miss things again. I'm not saying I'm smart, but I've got an understanding and I've got a general knowledge, and it seems counterintuitive to go back with the new thing onto the old chain and cop those fees again, right? Because you're going to still cop them. We're all still copping them. If you've got your staking ladder out for 15 years, which I do, you're still going to have to pay ridiculous gas fees, which is another thing I'm a little pissed at. There was always the conversation like, oh, Pulse Chain's going to Pulse will solve this, right? Pulse Chain's going to lower the gas fees on Ethereum. How? It hasn't. Well, I guess it's bad timing with that bloody Zen token from Mr. Jack Levin. That just jacked the fees right up. I just don't see how, I know. So the story was, well, Pulse Chain will lower the gas fees on Ethereum because more Yahoos will go across and play on Pulse Chain. They won't play on Ethereum. It's like, that's not true because you've still got your stuff on Ethereum that you still got to play with. You still got your hex stakes. Are you going to just dust your hands and go, I'm not touching that at all? And let them bleed out? No, you're going to still end those stakes when they come time. You're going to still pay those fees. And isn't it funny that that's what Richie Boy was saying for so long, that we're going to take traffic off Ethereum and lower the load. And then you've got people going, hell no. You got Hexicans saying, hell no, I'm buying more hex on Ethereum. I'm over there. Good luck with your Pulse Chain. I'm playing on Ethereum. That's what, and so it hasn't fixed anything in terms of gas fees. Okay, if you look historically, they're quite low right now, and they have been quite low for, I guess, 2 to 3 weeks. Now maybe down 15, 14 Gwei. But I remember a time not long ago when I would not transact on Ethereum unless the Gwei was a single digit. We haven't seen single digit Gwei. I mean, I feel like it was in New Zealand when I was there this time. What is it, August? Yeah, I was in New Zealand this time last year. I lived in New Zealand for winter last year. And I feel like that's when, well, it would have been before August. I feel like before, like maybe even June when I first got there, I was seeing, or was it before I left there to go there? Was it before I left here to go there? Either way, it's so long ago that there was single digit Gwei that I just don't think it's coming back. I think we're always going to have to put up with 11, 12, 15, 20, 144, right? Get out of here, right? So Pulse Chain did not solve that. It did not solve that. But you do have the option to ignore it and just use Pulse, which is what I'm doing. So back to my initial point of this live stream, what the hell does Richard Heart being sued have to do with Pulse Chain? It's almost irrelevant if you look at the idea of DeFi, which is what this is the pitch, right? Decentralized finance. No central figure, no one controlling it, no central entity, no offices, no work, no employees, none of that stuff. So the fact that these SEC yahoos have gone, well, we're going to grab the guy that's closely linked to it and we're going to slap him with all these things. It doesn't change the thing. The thing is the thing, and it will continue to be the thing regardless of what happens to Richard. Now, do we want him to be sued by the SEC? No, of course not. We don't want anyone to go down those roads. We want the best, right? We don't want anything bad to happen to anybody, let alone this guy. I don't know the guy personally, but no one wants to wish anyone the worst. So with that in mind, what's the worst that could happen to him? There was the stories in the news about, was it, what was the other coin that got fined? These guys, I can't remember the token, but these guys made off with 140 bill, and they were found guilty, and they got a fine of about, what was it, 17? I'm thinking they had to pay 7 mil back or something in a fine. So Richard Hart's alleged, what I've read or what I've seen floating around on the Twitter, on the X machine, still having a hard time dealing with that. It's no longer Twitter, it's X. I've seen conversation about him allegedly making off with a 1 bill, not 14 bill, but 1 bill. So his fine, if there's a fine, it will be substantially lower, you'd imagine, if there's a sliding scale or whatnot. It'd be substantially lower than what we've seen with these other yahoos. And so obviously he can afford that, right? If he can afford these ridiculous tracksuits and those watches and all that diamond, all that rubbish he bought, he can afford to pay a fine. So in one sense, no, we don't want this for anybody because it's pretty lousy. But if anybody's going to cop it, he's probably pretty adept to handle it. He's probably the person who could handle it the best. He's loaded. He's smart. He's articulate. He can express himself. I'm sure there's going to be a very interesting. I hope it's public, the hearings, because it's going to be very, very. It's going to bring forth some absolute goldmine of sound bites and conversation starters. Because this man, we've seen this man defeat anybody that comes into his path, and I'd argue the SEC is the ultimate target. Not that he's got a target, but I guess the ultimate enemy is a better angle. So SEC, and he's gonna. I'd pay to see that, like front row tickets to be there to watch it, because he's gonna slam it, right? Slam dunk. He's like the Michael Jordan of crypto, right? Nobody can. No, how many things has he said that have come true? And everybody hates the guy. It's look. Separate Richard Hart. Separate Hex and PulseX from Richard Hart. Try to, if you can't, just try to separate for the time being, and just think about all the things that he's said in terms of crypto that have all come true in the last 3 years or so. It's incredible, right? It's incredible. And you see all these tweets and these lists of things, and there's a hashtag Richard Hart was right, and everything's come true. And it's like, okay, maybe this guy knows something that the bulk of the population doesn't quite grasp. Is that fair? Maybe he knows something that we don't. Maybe he's a bit more clued in on it. Maybe he's a bit smarter than the bulk of us. Certainly seems that way. So I feel like him being the target from the SEC is probably the best person that you could imagine, because he's well adept to handle whatever they sling at him in any position that they find themselves against, or even for him, because I'm sure there'll be things that come up that he's like, he can educate, and they'll be like, well, okay, we didn't understand that, right? I mean, they're still struggling to point out what is and what isn't a security. So if the SEC don't even have that defined, it's going to be an absolute shit show. They're going to go into this and they're not going to have any. The goals aren't. The field isn't even ready. They're not even ready to. They don't even have a ball. They're not even. The SEC has. They seem like they don't know anything, yet they're flinging out these charges. And so, yeah, I feel like Richard Hart will come with his own field, his own ball, his own goalposts, and he'll be like kicking goals everywhere, going, yep, that's why this is this, that's why that's not that. You guys didn't understand this, now you know that, now you know this, that's why we did this, that's why crypto's this, that's why that happens, that's why all this happened in the past, that's why that guy's bad, that's why this. He'll just be laying it all out. They'll be like, hey, calm down. We're here to nail you, not be educated by you. But I reckon he's be like, no, you're going to get an education here. If it's going to cost me X amount of dollars in a fine, I want you to learn something from it. So I feel like it's going to be irrelevant for Hex, irrelevant for Pulse, irrelevant for PulseX. But wow, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. Great. I just hope that this gets public viewing, because it's going to be fun. Very fun. Let's take a look at what has happened to the prices of Pulse. And by the way, this is a live stream, but I see no one in my chat. Wah. That's not unusual though. My live streams get, unless we're talking about shapeshifters on airplanes, they go nowhere, right? But anyway, I'm happy for this to be a short one, get it out there. But let's take a look at the prices. Let's go to our coin market cap. It should just come up, right? We'll open up 3 tabs here. 1, 2, 3, and the first one will be Hex. So it's down to 0.005, and that looks like the daily chart. Let's go to 7-day for a more. So it's been plummeting. Monthly chart. So obviously this red here is when the news was announced of the sewerage, and bam, 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 down, 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 and back up a little. The lowest that peaked out was at 0.039. let's take a look at Pulse Machine. PLS. Pulse, and go to the 7-day chart. Look at this drop here. This is when the SEC announcement, 31st of July. And it was already having a shocker. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Just constant down, constant lousiness. That's the day before. And then bum, 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 bum. All-time low of how many zeros is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 2. 4 zeros, 2782. I mean, I bought the dip, not quite that extreme dip. I probably bought about there, 00388. By the way, just a side note, while we talk about buying the dip, so the obvious other side of this situation is the Uniswap debacle, right? Decentralized exchange or decentralized entity coming in and saying, oh no, you can't use that. You can't use that token. They're like, first of all, who made that decision? I thought it was decentralized. I thought there was no one here in charge, no one person controlling it, but obviously there is. And so when Uniswap barred Hex, everything else that used that underneath their under their front ends also stopped working. And when I went to buy that dip, I was using Portal X, which is a great way to just jump chains. You know, you load up Ethereum in your Metamask, then you load up Portal X, and you just cross-chain buy. It's so sick. And wow, it's cheap. I mean, maybe the rate's not the best. That's all because I've been doing that for about 4 weeks, and the Ethereum fees are like less than $1. So I feel like the Portal X must be taking a big chunk off the top for themselves to make those. Either way, I don't know, but either way, it's super cheap. But what happened was, as soon as you loaded up Portal X from Ethereum and went to Pulse Chain and selected Pulse or Pulse X, it said this transaction is not available at this stage. And that's because Hex was removed from Uniswap. Hex, Pulse X, and Pulse. And also DAI, I saw that too. So just to and I kept refreshing it, thinking it might change, because it uses different bridges and different routes to get to where it needs to go. It goes through Change Now and whatnot. This is Portal X. And on a whim, I went to the shower or something, came back, and I thought I'll just refresh it. And I refreshed it, and it let me cross-chain swap from Ethereum to Pulse Chain to get Pulse. And I was like, oh, wow, it went through. Oh, okay. So then obviously you just go to Pulse X and swap however much Pulse you want to make Pulse X, and you do it there. Because I tried it. I tried going direct from MetaMask, from Ethereum through Portal X to Pulse X, and it still was banned. So I don't know if that's current right now, but as of, I think, 2 days ago when I did that, you could certainly use Portal X to cross-chain from Ethereum, but you could only get Pulse. You couldn't get Pulse X or Hex or Pulse Hex. So I just thought I'd throw that out there, because the other ways to do it is using the Hedron front end, and the other ways, but I don't think that's not cross-chain, is it? I love the cross-chain, the easiness between chains like that with Portal X. It's amazing. So yeah, that happened. But then let's take a quick look here, because it's gone back up. But I mean, it's still a great opportunity, right? Not the financial opportunity, not the financial advice, but that's still great. That's still. Let's go to all time. Down, 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 down. I mean, look, if you're buying, I mean, you might want to buy. If you are buying, you're buying a token that's plummeted. It's down 76%. 76% from launch. We didn't do that for Hex though, did we? All time. Hex is up 200 or 2,669 as an all-time percentage. So Hex is up. We go Pulse X here. We didn't actually put that in yet. Let me just do that. PLSX. It's down 12% on the daily. And oh, look at that. That would have been a nice time to buy in. Let's go back to 7-day. Here's the SEC news. Down, 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 down. All-time low skins there of, what's that? 5 zeros, 1021. Wow. And now it's 5 zeros to 0. No, that's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it is. 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3. I need my freaking glasses. Getting old. 1, 2. I still can't see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 zeros. Damn. Getting old ain't no fun. Ain't no fun getting old. You'll all get there though. I mean, just looking at these comments here from this guy Sam DeGaff. Not a fan of Richard Hart, but definitely hate the SEC. The worst SEC can do is make Richard Hart pay a fine. He pays a fine, life goes on. Look at Kraken and EOS. Or he fights the SEC because he expected this, and as proof, funds used did not come from. Yeah, so that's one of the big allegations against him, is that he used the funding, which is not even funding because it was a sacrifice. So we and whoever did sacrificed. They didn't donate any money. They sacrificed crypto tokens into a common pool with the zero expectations of anything coming back from it. I don't want to go too deep into how all that works or how that is worded, but Richard Hart was wealthy before Hex, before PulseX, before Pulse Chain. He's already accrued his wealth a long time ago, according to him and according to the legend. And I'm sure all that's going to be investigated, right? And there'll have to be records of all that. So the allegation of him cashing in off people and using Hex and Pulse Chain as a way to top up his bags of currency, I just don't think that's going to stand. But yeah, what we've been told and what we know of him, and I don't know much of him because I've only been in this since 3 years, or not. Actually, I worked that out the other day. I got into Hex about a week and a half in front of Big Payday. So that's in year 1, but that probably would have been, I guess that was in the first 10 months of Hex. So I got in. I'm stoked. I got my bag. I got my little staking ladder. I'm good. I'm real good. For 15 years. I'm fine. I got a stake coming out in about a year and a half. And obviously, I'm hoping that the charts go up from there. I mean, let's go back to the Hex chart. I mean, it's in the green, but I'm hoping that we see, numbers up around here somewhere when my stake comes out. That'd be sick. 22 cents. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? What's the all-time high? 55 cents or something? Isn't that ironic that is it 55? Isn't there a down here somewhere, all-time high, all-time low? Market cap, volume, circulating supply, total supply, max supply, fully diluted max, market cap. Price performance low. Yeah, here we go. High 24-hour. Change it to all. 1 year low. No, it doesn't give you the all-time. Oh, here we go. All-time high. Yeah, 55 cents. Shfifty. I couldn't see that before. 2 years ago, on the 16th of November 2021, it reached 55 cents, and it's 99% down from there. 99% down from its all-time high. So if those numbers frighten you, then get the hell out of here. If they don't frighten you and you're staked out and you're good to go, then hold course steady and all hands on deck, and you should be fine. Not financial advice, but my take on this is, and I could be wrong, but my take on this is this SEC stuff is going to make absolutely no difference at all. Of course, it's going to suck for Richard Hart, but that's not really relevant. He's his own entity, and I'm sure he can handle himself. You can send him well wishes and all the best and all that stuff, but ultimately, Hex is a immutable contract that already exists. It has been operating. It will continue to operate. I just wonder if this is a way to shake out all the loose hands and get everybody out and get a clean. Because like I said, if you buy in at these points, you could start getting fatter, getting more blubber, and become a bit of a whale. I don't know if you want to be. Hey, what an interesting stream. Not a single chat message. Cheers for that. See you later. I'm going to keep it like that. No one, don't say anything. Nobody say anything. If anybody wants to speak, too late. Get the hell out of here. Cheers.